This meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order and welcome to everyone who is participating, whether here in chambers or online. And we'd like to recognize, of course, Mayor Miles is online with us too. First, we have our invocation, who will be given by Kelly Lewandowski.
Vice Mayor, may
Yes.
I do a roll call, please?
Oh, I always forget. I'm sorry. Thanks, Annie.
Mayor Miles.
Here.
Vice Mayor Watkins.
Here.
Councilmember Mello.
Here.
Councilmember Nelson is excused this evening. Councilmember Samley.
Here.
Councilmember Scott Staley.
Present.
Councilmember Walker is excused this evening. We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Our invocation will be given by Kelly Lewandowski of Hope City Church. I would ask everybody to stand, and then afterwards we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you for inviting me here this evening to pray blessing over you guys. If you guys would bow your head with me this evening. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we just invite your presence into this room as we gather together under your name. God, we want to thank you for the many ways that you pour out your blessings over our lives, for your love, for your protection, for your wisdom and guidance, and your favor upon this city of Kingman. God, we thank you that you are our ever-present help in time of need, and that we can call on your name at any time, and you are here with us this evening. Tonight, as our city leaders and members of our community gather, we invite your presence in this room to guide the discussions and give discernment as decisions are made. Lord, we count it an honor and a privilege to be members of serving this community, the people of this city. Thank you for trusting us to faithfully lead and guide those around this city, God, the people of your city. I pray over tonight over our mayor, over the city council members, and every official represented in this room who daily choose to live their lives serving others, desiring to make a difference in this region and beyond. God, I pray that you would abundantly bless them. God, that you would place upon them integrity of character and strengthening them with a perseverance to endure. I ask that you would be the center of their lives, directing their steps and granting them understanding as they trust in your ways, especially as they face times of uncertainty. I also pray that you would grant them an ability to discern the welfare and needs of the people within our city. Place upon them a desire for justice and righteousness over every area that they influence. Lead them in truth, giving them the courage to make often difficult decisions. May they work together in unity towards a common purpose, even in the middle of differences, God. It is our desire for this betterment of our community that we seek the common unity. Lord, would you place your mighty hand over every family in this room, over every family of this city? Would you guard, protect, grant health, and place your peace upon them? May we never forget that in every season, nothing is too difficult for you. We acknowledge that you alone are our source of strength, of hope, of courage, and provision, and unending grace. God, we honor you tonight. We praise your name, and it is in the mighty name of Jesus that we pray all these things. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. The council may go into executive session for legal counsel in accordance with ARS 38-431, Section 3, to discuss any agenda item. The following items may be discussed, considered, and decisions made relating thereto. First on our agenda, we have probably my most favorite part is an award recognitions. It's a proclamation for Elder Abuse Awareness Day. And Clerk Meredith, we have
Nicole Manuelito from WACOG is here to accept the proclamation.
Okay, so I will read the proclamation first and then we can present it to her. Okay. Whereas older adults deserve to be treated with respect and dignity to enable them to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and vital participating members of our communities. And the Mayor's Office, along with the City Council and Western Arizona Council of Governments, Area Agency on Aging, recognize the importance of taking action to raise awareness, prevent, and address elder abuse. And as our population lives longer, we are presented with an opportunity to think about our collective needs and future as a city. And ageism and social isolation are major causes of elder abuse in the United States. And recognizing that it is up to all of us to ensure that proper social structures exist so people can retain community and societal connections, reducing the likelihood of abuse. And preventing abuse of older adults through maintaining and improving social supports like senior centers, human services, and transportation will allow everyone to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the life and vibrancy of our communities. And where there is justice, there can be no abuse. Therefore, the mayor's office and members of the city council, along with the Western Arizona Council of Governments, Area Agency on Aging, urge all people to restore justice by honoring older adults. Join us in our engaging and empowering movement and putting an end to abuse. Now, therefore, I, Jen Miles, Mayor of the City of Kingman, Arizona, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, June 15th, 2022, as Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and encourage all citizens to recognize and celebrate older adults and their ongoing contributions to the success and vitality of our community. If we could ask council members and Ms. Manuelito come up. In the center and then girls around us? Yeah. Okay. Step back. Would you like to say this, put it on record? Or no, that would be best. Okay. And not just us, but the whole.
I'm not very eloquent, but I am grateful for the opportunity. Are you able to hear me a little better that way? I just wanted to thank Mayor Miles, Vice Mayor Watkins, and the whole City Council for bringing to light through this proclamation the need for awareness and education in our community for elder abuse awareness and prevention. And just want to thank you again for all your efforts in this.
Thank you. Number 2, call to the public. Comments from the public. Those wishing to address the council should fill out request forms in advance. Action taken as a result of public comments will be limited to directing staff to study the matter or rescheduling the matter for consideration and decision at a later time. Comments from the public will be restricted to items not on the agenda, with the exception of those on the consent agenda. There will be no comments allowed that advertise for a particular person or group. Comments should be limited to no longer than 3 minutes. Clerk Meredith?
Vice Mayor, we did not receive any requests to call in, nor have we received any written comments in advance. At this time, I have also not received any requests to speak from those in attendance tonight.
Okay, thank you. Item number 3, our consent agenda. All matters listed here are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and we will be considered separately. And of course, we have items A through H. Are there any items that need to be pulled and discussed tonight? Mayor Miles? Okay. Seeing that there are
No,
none.
thank you. No, thank you.
I'm sorry, Bayer.
No, thank you.
Seeing that there are no things that need to be pulled, we would have a motion then on approving the consent agenda.
I make a motion, we approve tonight's consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Item number 4, old business. Item A, ordinance number 1943, Board and Commission Code Update. The mayor and common council directed staff to update certain sections of the city code regarding the city's various boards and commissions. Staff has rewritten those sections to better reflect the council's intent and to clarify the code's language. Staff recommends approval of ordinance number 1943. And Mr. Cooper, is this your?
That would be me, sir.
Okay.
So based on just the input I received from the council meeting a few months ago, some staff input, I tried to clean this up a little bit because we had a lot of additions that kind of happened over the course of many years that made it confusing, a little lengthy, some contradictory. And I think the idea was just to clean it up, make it a little bit more simple. And I think there's the major changes or not major changes, I guess I would say, is first, there was some discussion of going from 7 commission members down to 5. I think there was some support from the boards and commissions, or at least the commissions, to do that, but that's sort of changed. So it looks like, at this point, I just left them at 7 and then left the boards at 5, where they currently are. So that's a major not change. And then one of the things I found was there was some confusion on maybe the idea of the purpose behind each of these boards and commissions. So on a few of them, we tried to steer it towards the master plan that's related to that particular board or commission. That way, the language in the ordinance isn't necessarily the constraint. What they're going to be looking at is what's in that master plan and how that adapts and evolves, and to keep them tracking that, allowing that to evolve, looking at how we've solved some of those problems or we need to work on some of those problems. So I thought that was a good opportunity to direct those various commissions to that direction. We had some members, some of the commissions had membership terms at 3 years, some were at 4 years, so we decided to set them at 4 years. Let's just make it consistent across the board. We kept in the allowance of the 2 non-resident in case of some exceptional skill or whatever talent, and that's determined by the council itself. And then there's a problem we've had in the past a number of times is just some commissioners that maybe just don't attend anymore. So this language will call 3 unexcused absences, abandonment of that position, so it's automatically out. That way we don't have to bring it back to council. We can move quicker to get the replacements in there. And then I guess the last thing I really wanted to address is if this is something the council wants to proceed with and adopt this, what I'll do is at the next meeting, I'll bring a resolution that will list all the current boards and commission members and reappoint them. It will get them kind of into sync with the new 4-year term and get them basically lined up into some standard years. So I think that's a quick summary of what I did, but obviously I'm here for questions. So.
Questions from council members? Yes, Ms. Staley.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I have quite a few things when I looked through this. So just some edits that I'd like to see happen to maybe strengthen or improve the cohesiveness of this document. I'd start with on page 1 under membership under A, it has commissions shall be comprised of 7 members, boards shall be comprised of 5 members. You kind of just touched on this, but when we go over to the historic preservation, we do have that one at 5, and it is a commission. So
Did I leave that still at 5?
Yeah.
See, that was me not doing what I should have done.
as I was reading it,
No.
because you hadn't given the explanation, I was kind of confused if that
No,
was gonna
that
switch to a
was,
board or-
I missed that. I apologize for that.
And then on the next section B, we have from time to time, the city shall publish listings of vacancies. And I'd actually like to ask that we change that language and that we would publish every time we have a vacancy. We found, we were having trouble getting people to apply, but once the council found out about it, we were able to reach out. And I was looking back at our Facebook page, and we don't have any posts about openings on commissions. So I'd like to change that to make sure that that's something that always happens, that we do publish as soon as there's an opening on a commission.
And I have no problem with that. I think my intent was to always, even if we didn't have an opening, publish to kind of recruit people, because you know that was
That would
going
be
to
great.
happen.
That would be great too, but I specifically would like to see more happen when we do have those openings occur. And then throughout the document, when we're talking about the membership of each commission, every commission's kind of different. The Clean City Commission talks about, if possible, we'll have people from the following groups. Economic development was really strict, and it said specifically, and there's a very narrow list of sectors and experts that can serve on the board, leaving out other qualified citizens, which I thought was strange, because economic development, any small business owner could be effective in that role, and by narrowing it so much, I thought that was a mistake. And then Parks just has listed interested in the commission and its responsibilities, and then the Airport Commission doesn't have anything, which is strange, because that's the group that they really, you know, one of their main responsibilities is the airport master plan, and you cannot sit on that committee and help in any way if you don't have any kind of aviation background.
And I guess, are you looking at the old language? Because the new language, I drop that. I try to put,
Looking at each one, it says Division 3. So are
That's
you
the
saying
old.
you got rid of all of
that.
that?
That's all gone.
Oh, I've got it.
Okay.
Okay, as I
So-
was looking through here, I just thought it was two,
No,
two
I
but that
apologize.
went
Yeah.
together.
That's
Okay.
replaced in its entirety. So the language, what we tried to do, because that was confusing, I agree.
Yeah, each one,
And that's what, that was that hodgepodge that happened. So
Okay.
what I did try to put in here was it's under, on the one I was making the change, it was section 1 or 2-156, balanced membership. And it is the policy of the city that each board and commission shall have a balanced membership which possesses expertise within that board or commission's area of responsibility and is representative of the diverse interests affected by their decisions. That way I thought,
perfect.
that's a better way to encompass it without specifying
Each group.
each group. Because
none at all.
that's where we got really confused. That's why that whole old section is gone.
Okay.
Or that's my intent.
I think that's really good. Thank you for that. And the only other thing then I have is that for the economic development responsibilities, I don't know how everybody else feels, but I would like to add in there that they should attend ribbon cutting events for new businesses, and they should also assist in promoting and volunteering at the city-sponsored community events. For example, the event that we just had at Kingman Lewis a few months back, I think that commission is perfect for helping promote it and also volunteering there.
And I'm not trying to sound like I'm contradicting, but I thought that might be something that the boards and commissions, when they kind of dial in their section or bylaws, their own areas of responsibility, that's where they kind of focus that information. Because I was trying to pull some of that specific activity out of these descriptions.
Okay.
Just because, again, that's where I kind of found we ran into a little bit of hodgepodge of information. Well, this one really says something specific, and this one doesn't. And I thought it'd be better to allow them to make some of those determinations, what worked best for those boards and commissions.
So how often does a board work on their bylaws?
Well, that's, I think, something that they're going to need to work on.
Okay.
Or the commissions, I should say.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I think part of what has happened over the years is some of these bylaw rules have crept into the ordinance, and then we've ended up with an ordinance that was way too specific. Ribbon cuttings as an example is wonderful to have city representation. We don't generally put on ribbon cuttings. It's usually the Chamber of Commerce, but having a commission member or 2 or 3 show up is a wonderful representation for the city. And as a matter of fact, we've had a number of park ribbon cuttings and events where we've had PARG members
Yeah.
actually show up. And it's been a nice compilation of elected officials and our commission members and the city team all being there representing the city for these really important events. But yeah, I think that's been part of the problem, is that these really specific things have crept in, and it's created these differences, so many differences between the commissions that it just, having it be general, I think you're right. Absolutely, having the boards and commissions have a set of rules in which they're going to follow is important, but I think it's important for them individually.
The feedback I often get is these commission members would like to do more. They'd like to be involved, but they don't ever really have the opportunity to sit down as a board and talk about how they're going to do that or where they could represent the city. I believe twice we had a meeting where we brought all the commissions in together, and Annie did her annual training with them, but they also kind of were given some time to set goals for the year, similar to what the council and staff do every year. I'd like to see that come back, or at least once, just for this bylaw,
Well,
so they can sit and talk and sort of make our commissions, it'd be just nice if they were able to be more helpful in promoting and doing the things that they want to do. But I think when they only come to a meeting and they follow this agenda, they don't get that chance
right.
to be as effective and to really push their commission forward.
Yeah. Well, and what I would say is that I think that each commission needs to be given that opportunity. There's just so much difference between the commissions that bringing them all together, planning commission
Well,
should
what we
be.
did is we put them in separate tables so they could work separately as a group to make their goals, but then also there's some things that, like Annie's training, where they all need to be together, or it'd help to be together.
Yeah, well, we're still providing that part, so
Yeah.
they're all getting Annie's training, so, but, yeah.
And I'm going to jump back to the heritage preservation. So I
Yeah.
think in the old code, it talks about that. The new code,
Okay.
not that, but I mean, talk about the membership level.
Yeah,
The-
because I had them
under
all
the-
together.
Yeah, in the new section, it's listed, it still falls under the 7.
Very good. Okay. That's all for me. Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Yes.
I echo what Councilor Staley says. We really need to orientate the individuals that come along these commissions. I've had a couple of new ones come on my commission, and if they didn't reach out and ask for what's the mission, what's the goal, what am I going to be responsible for, they feel lost from the get-go, and I feel like we need to bring them in. At least I would like to see all the commission members come into a training for Robert's Rules of Order and the other trainings that Annie does for open meeting law, and that would also give them a greater understanding of under which commissions are action oriented and which commissions are advisory commissions, because there is some misunderstanding out there as to who gets to do the action stuff and who gets to listen to reports and be in an advisory commission or role. So I echo that, and I would like something to be included in the document that makes that a part of being a commission member. Like you need to attend an orientation, or you need to, I think if they're going to invest the time, then we need to set them up for success so they're active commission members. So however, if that can be worked in there as something that is for all commissions, I would like to see something like that.
Vice Mayor,
Yes, Mayor Miles.
first of all, I want to say, Jamie, I understand where you were coming from, because I had to work a little bit, figure out where the existing ordinances were and because there was not a markup. But once I got there, I was able to figure it out. I really like the direction that is going with this new, the modifications that have been made, because it's more universal, it's cleaner, and it doesn't have all that. It doesn't get into the weeds on what a commissioner does or doesn't do. It gives the principle, the mission, if you will, of the commission, and basically what they are engaging in. But having said that, I agree that in the bylaws, you could really get more specific in the bylaws for a commission you could get more specific on the duties and responsibilities. And then you have the commissioners very actively engaged in creating their own set of here's what we do. And I think every commission truly could have an advisory, does have an advisory role, but also could find other more proactive roles than that. So, but I think it should be in the bylaws. This ordinance should stay, I think, more at a different plane for that I think you're getting to. And the bylaws could include a requirement that commissioners attend certain meetings or certain public events. And in fact, on the Economic Development Commission, I like the way you phrased it, Carl, with the when you said the commission shall review, will bridge communication efforts to build relationships between the public sector, the community, and business interests. That gives a whole lot of room for commissioners to decide how they do that, how they build those bridges. And I think all of that could be addressed in a different format that is tailored to that commission. So that's my thought. With respect to the meeting of all the commissioners and the council that Jamie brought up, it was a grand meeting. In fact, I spoke with City Manager Foggin about it today because it has merit. It has merit for the reasons Councilor Samley brought up, to go over certain rules of order that all commissions operate with, but it also has merit for the camaraderie building. And if they don't know their master plans, or if they don't know their bylaws, they can become acquainted with them and just get more familiar with it. I think there's that we could find real areas to build on and bringing that kind of annual meeting together with everyone. I certainly, and as I told Ron, if nothing else, you come out of it with a great photo op. And everybody liked that photo that we took when all the commissioners and council were together. And it just builds a sense of, public servant community. And I think there's merit there. So that's my comments. Well, I have one more. I noticed, Attorney Cooper, that I think we took out the supermajority to extend terms. Quite frankly, I'm comfortable with that. And maybe I missed it if you left it in, but I think that 2 terms after having served possibly served the completion of another term is adequate. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Miles. I also echo everything that has been said, and I want to just comment that as individuals, I think this training is really important, at least once as they start serving on a commission. Because as we train, and especially all together, as Mayor mentioned, they have a feel of being needed, which then instills in them the opportunity that they want to serve and be on that commission. So I think it's really important. So,
and I think that's something that we can address, because I know the clerk's office does the annual training, and I'm going to be joining her with that in the future. And I think I'm actually going to be covering economic development this month. So I think that's something we can do, and maybe instead of doing it once a year, we might be able to drop and do like some initial orientation, and then the second time we do it could be something a little bit different, just to try and express some options. But I do agree that if the various boards or commissions could do a brief work session, if they want to sit down and try and work out those basic bylaws, rules, procedures, and all those sort of things, and that's something that we can definitely help with. So, and I would say, if the council does appreciate this document or like this document, except for the language of that publication, I don't think there'd be a problem if you want to adopt it tonight, because I'm hoping we can, just because I'd like to move on. We could strike that line of from time to time and just put monthly, the city shall publish, and that can be necessarily, it's going to be mostly social media, but then we can still hit you know, some of the papers if we need to. It just starts getting a little pricey with the paper, but,
Okay.
so if there,
Vice Mayor,
Yes, Mayor Miles.
I did have one more question. And since we may move forward with this, Attorney Cooper, I noticed that you've renumbered a few things and eliminated the definitions. And I just wondered if that was because you felt those were covered in another area.
I felt that the definitions really didn't matter, and for the most part, there's nothing in there that's too ambiguous, I guess I should say. And the language there, if there is something, the only one that I would really venture to guess that would be an issue is more of that vacancy / abandonment, and I think that's pretty well defined in there in itself. But if you feel that there's something missing, by all means, we can put this on hold and I can address it. So, but I didn't think there.
I don't know that I feel it's missing, as long as it's covered in other areas. There was a standing committee, and I don't see it right in front of me right now. Definition, is that language, is there any reference to like
No,
standing
ma'am.
committee?
No,
Or-
no
no.
merit. Yeah, because I apologize, I keep stepping over what you're saying. The standing committee would be the basic commissions that we currently have. And then if we were to create an ad hoc or something like that, that's something you can just address, because that's usually going to be a temporary commission that you're going to deal with on a very specific issue. So that's why I felt
Okay.
it wasn't necessary.
I think that's fine. My last comment, and this is really one that will bring a smile, I know, to Manager Fogg, and maybe you, Attorney Kirk. You know, if you took one section at a time as you're updating it and change it to city council, in 100 years, we would have all of our ordinances with the Kingman City Council. There you go,
Thank you, ma'am.
instead of the Kingman Common Council.
Vice
That's
Mayor.
my last somewhat humorous but heartfelt comment. Are you smiling? I can't
Yes,
tell.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilwoman Mello.
Maybe we can make a video or a training kind of class that the new members, you know, when they come in, that's a requirement when they take on one of these commission boards, Robert's Rules of Order and that type of thing.
Well, and you just said a key word, requirement. I don't want to say it be required to attend this meeting, but because that sounds hard, but it almost needs to be that way so that they feel the importance of why it's important to be a part of this commission or board.
And I think the important parts of the initial is being aware of the legal issues. And I would like to say, I'm hoping that when this happens, there are, the league publishes, you've all probably gotten them, so you're an elected official or so you're a public official. I'd like to make sure that those get handed out, at least initially, so you have some reference, so they have some reference to what's out there and what their responsibilities are. But I agree that I think at some point, we plan on doing it, or are already doing a lot of that training, and we can definitely up it. So.
Okay. Any
Vice
other-
Mayor?
Yes,
I'm
Mayor Miles.
sorry, this is just such an important issue. And I want to go back to the fact that while open meeting laws and Robert's rules are critical and must be given, I think when a member joins a commission, I go back, I think it was Councilor Samley that said, they need, if we have a charter or a bylaws for the commission, they need a membership. Here's what this commission does. And I think if they don't have that for each commission, that's a worthy project, just to facilitate the growth of the new commissioners and their role. Thank you.
Okay. I didn't catch that last part.
I think she was referencing that we should have, make sure we provide whoever is the new board or commission member
Yes.
information regarding open meeting law, and if there is any bylaws related to that commission,
Correct.
yes, that should be provided immediately. So.
Okay.
And Vice Mayor, I would take it a step further and say there needs to be, and if it doesn't exist, bylaws or a charter for the commission that is, I think we have a basic I think we have these basic documents, but maybe they can be improved and new member packages put together so that they understand better. It will expand on what's already in this ordinance. I think that's the key, and help the commission be more comfortable with their role.
Okay. Any other comment, Mr. Cooper?
I agree wholeheartedly with the mayor's comment.
Okay. One other thing I did want to, for clarification, you had mentioned that 2 non-residents can also serve. Is that whether it's a 5 or a 7?
No, there's a few that are accepted from that. That's planning and zoning.
Okay.
By statute, and then, like I say, our 2 boards, the Board of Adjustment and Board of Appeals, those are going to be required to be residents, and that's how it's currently
Okay.
currently is. So
I just wanted to make sure that that was brought out so that people understood also.
Correct.
So,
Gotcha.
okay, great, thank you. So with the corrections that Mr. Cooper is going to make on this, are we ready to, do we need to go ahead and move forward on this? Can we move forward on
you
it?
can move forward. The change that Councilwoman Staley's asking for is minor and easy to adjust. It's
Okay.
not going to change the meaning of anything.
Okay.
So
So, can we have a motion then to accept this ordinance number 1943?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance number 1943.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Staley. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Councilor Samley, thank you. All approved, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? I hear none. Thank you. Number 5 on our, item number 5, new business. Number A, ordinance number 1942, Unisource Gas Franchise Agreement.
and that would be me again. I'm sorry, I'm kind of monopolizing some of this tonight. So Unisource, they currently have a gas franchise and they have an electric franchise. Those franchises last for 25 years. The Unisource's franchise for their gas portion is expiring, and I can't read the date.
Actually, Mr. Cooper, should I have read this?
Yeah, you should
I
have.
probably
I
should read that.
apologize. I was just jumping right in too. So.
No, I was thinking I probably should read this. Unisource's current gas franchise agreement will expire March 1st, 2024. A franchise agreement must be approved by the voters. This agreement will be placed on the November general election ballot. The attached agreement contains the terms negotiated by city staff and Unisource. Staff is requesting that the council review and approve the agreement in order to proceed with the next steps of the franchise elections process. Staff recommends council approve ordinance number 1942. Mr. Cooper.
Thank you very much, and that has the date in there that I wasn't able to read. So again, we spoke with the folks at Unisource to try and come up with a mutually agreed upon agreement. This is what we did after several meetings with staff and then between their attorneys and myself. There's really just mostly updating the language in the agreement to make sure it reflects current case law. And as you'll see, the council would approve this term, the terms of this agreement. It goes on the ballot, and then obviously the people get to vote for it, and they need to be the ones that support it. And I would say really there's no major changes in this agreement. It's just kind of a continuance of what we currently are doing. So.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Cooper from council?
And I do believe there are some Unisource folks online if you have any questions for them.
Okay, great. Yes, Councilwoman.
In these agreements, is there something that protects the property owners? Like twice now, and this was more on the electric side, but twice now we've had property owners contact us because they were upset about pole placement. And it could be the same for a gas meter or something like that. Is there anything in this agreement that gives our property owners some rights when these items are put, in what they think is ruining their view or is an obstruction where they park, that kind of thing?
The franchise agreements don't address placement necessarily. It's going to be, if there's an easement already, then they're going to have the whatever utility is going to have that right to utilize those easements that already exist, or the city's right-of-way, which is what this is about. It's just affecting the city's right-of-way.
So when those items come up and people contact us about that, it's really out of our hands and there's nothing we can do?
Well, I think there's I would have to say the short answer is you're right, but there's the long answer is, yeah, we can discuss, and I think that the city manager has done that in the past, and there's times when you can try and discuss those type of things, as long as, everybody knows about it far enough into the future, what the costs are involved with that, but there's definitely an opportunity to work through those types of situations, and the city manager would obviously have more impact on that than I would.
Yeah, I would just say that, yeah, the franchise agreement, I think there's a belief that the franchise agreement does give the city a little bit more power. It does not. I would say that what we do from the city side is try to share with the investor-owned utility the impact and what that impact will have on a neighbor or part of the community, and we exercise that often. Obviously, on the gas side, we don't have as much of that. It's an underground system, and people don't generally complain about it. But on the power side, where we have a lot of overhead lines, we certainly, whether it's public works, whether it's the city manager's office, whether it's engineering, I would say that we have a really great working relationship with Unisource for the most part. There's times where we bump heads from time to time, but we know and we're able to share where the community's concerns are, and knowing that they have the right to do their business within the right of way, and sometimes that's does not result in happy neighbors or a homeowner, but there are conversations that have taken place, oftentimes many conversations, in an effort to have as little impact as possible to parts of the community. But with power, we have a lot of overhead power, and that there's, I will say that there's a lot of people that are moving to our community that are not used to overhead power. Underground is much more conducive to sightseeing and seeing a beautiful sunset. I'd be the first one to complain about power lines in my neighborhood, but we don't have a lot of say other than our relationship with Unisource, which is a good one. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper and Mr. Foggen. So can we have a motion then for ordinance number 1942?
So
I'll make-
moved. Oh, sorry.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. And any opposed? Okay, moving on. Motion carries. Letter B, resolution number 5394, calling utility franchise election. Resolution number 5394 will designate the date of November 8th, 2022 as the date for the general election for the purpose of a utility franchise election to be held in conjunction with the city's general election. Pursuant to ARS 16-226, the election must be called no later than 150 days prior to the date of the election. Staff recommends approval of resolution number 5394.
And that would be me again, sir. So I guess this one's pretty self-explanatory. It's kind of a continuation. We did the general call to the election, and this one just kind of had to be separate based on the requirements of being a franchise option. So that's all it's doing, is just setting up the notice and the requirements for the election for the franchise.
Just the formality of calling the date.
Yes, sir.
Okay, or setting the date. Can we have a motion on resolution number 5394?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
Oh, Mayor,
We
second.
have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, motion carries. Resolution number 5407, adoption of fiscal year 2022 / 2023 tentative budget. The fiscal year 2022-23 tentative budget reflects the attached revisions from what was presented at the May 10th budget work session. Additional revisions can still be made tonight and will be incorporated into the final budget scheduled for adoption on June 21st, 2022. The tentative budget sets a ceiling on appropriations at $302,131,652. This essentially means the final budget adopted on June 21st, 2022 can meet but not exceed the amount adopted with this resolution. The tentative budget is within the state expenditure limitation as modified by permanent base adjustment. Staff recommends approval of resolution number 5407, thereby adopting the City of Kingman's tentative budget for fiscal year 2022-23. Discussion. And actually, Mr. Foggin.
Vice Mayor, thank you. Actually, Miss Tina, who is at a training, is joining us by Zoom, and she's going to walk you through kind of the changes that we've made basically since the work session. And I think we'll take any questions you have after that. So Miss Tina.
Welcome, Tina.
Thank you so much, Mr. Foggin, and good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members. So we are almost at the final stage of our fiscal year 23 budget adoption process, with the tentative budget being reviewed and hopefully adopted this evening. So as Mr. Foggin shared, we brought to you in May the recommended budget, and during that budget work session, there were several requests for modifications to be made, which are included in the tentative budget this evening. And I'll share with you what those revisions were. One was actually not a council directive. If you recall, during the work session, I touched on one of the state shared revenues that I felt when we were provided the estimates by the state was much too elevated from what we normally receive. And after the recommended budget work session, we actually received correspondence from the state that there was a miscalculation in their figures, and they recalculated many of the city's distributions. So we did make that adjustment in the tentative budget, so reduced our vehicle license tax revenue, which ultimately affected the amount of monies that were going to be transferred to the capital projects fund. Now, it's important for me to share that that did not affect any of the 5-year capital projects, including the fiscal year 23 projects that were budgeted. As far as council direction modifications are concerned, one of the requests was to revisit and remove the ice skating rink. That's a project that's been on the list for several years now with no progress, no development in the funding, and we removed both the project as well as its funding source. Also, there was discussion on the recreation center, knowing that it's a very important project for our community, an important amenity for our businesses and for employee recruitment and retention. It was discussed to move a portion of that project, the design, into fiscal year 23. So we did that, as well as moved the right-of-way acquisition into fiscal year 23 in the event that we're able to locate a parcel or piece of property to put the center on. We can begin acquiring right away. And then lastly, there was a request to include the Grace Neal sewer line in the 5-year capital project, specifically in fiscal year 23. That was added to the 5-year capital plan. And the identified fund source for that project was capacity fees. And so we increased appropriations by $3.7 million, which was the city engineer's cost estimate, to ensure that if capacity fees are adopted next year at a different level, that we have the monies in place to be able to move forward on that project. So the difference from the recommended budget to the tentative budget was an increase of $4.3 million in appropriations. And so, as Mr. Foggin shared and as Vice Mayor read, that the tentative budget, once adopted, sets the maximum amount that can be appropriated for the upcoming fiscal year. There can still be changes made prior to the final budget adoption on June 21st at the next council meeting, but they can only be decreases those appropriations and not increases. And so with that, I'll take any questions that you might have with those modifications. Otherwise, staff would recommend approval of resolution 407, which does adopt the fiscal year 23 tentative budget and sets the appropriations at $302,131,650.
So Vice Mayor, before that happens, there was one other project that was brought up by Councilor Samley that I wanted just to report on, and that was a question about having power run into Lewis Kingman Park as part of a support for ongoing community events. Based on timing, gathering information, Unisource told us that they would need a new power service and that they did not currently have, or we did not have the time in which to get a full budget look at what that would cost. Estimates were over $100,000. So what we will do in well, we'll do it now, but over the next fiscal year, we will work up those numbers and see about adding electrical to the Lewis Kingman Park for the next fiscal year, because it turned out to be, we were kind of hoping that it was run a couple of lines and, a $20,000 project. And after we started getting the estimates and suggestions that it was going to be over 100,000, we definitely need to do more homework on this and have a plan for that. And the fact that we're using Lewis Kingman Park for major community events, it completely makes sense to look at that for the next fiscal year. So just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we had not forgotten about that one.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you, Mr.
additional
Foggin.
information. Oops, sorry, Tina. Okay.
Vice
Comments from-
Mayor,
Yes, but Mayor.
I have some comments,
Yes.
or a question, really. On the contingent Grace Mill sewer line, I would ask, I guess, Tina, because I think people may not understand, the public may not understand our capacity fee process, if you just mention what process that goes through, and that there will be opportunities for input and discussion about this as we move forward. Because it's I'm uneasy about this one, and I think the discussion we're going to have going forward is going to be very important.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you very much, Mayor, for the question. So in order to change the capacity fees at the level that they currently are, there is a public process that has to go, that has to take place. There will be several council meetings. One of them will be a public hearing. There will also be a meeting that our current capacity fee consultant, Tischler Weiss, will present at, which will be the notice of intent, hearing. The notice of intent meeting that the public will also be encouraged to attend and provide comments. And then prior to that, actually, we will take this to the Municipal Utilities Commission. They always get a say in anything that affects the water and wastewater rates. So they will also review that, but it will ultimately come to the council twice to review. And at all three meetings, the public is encouraged to provide feedback and comments.
Thank you. When did we adopt this capacity fees?
They went into effect in December.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, other comments from councilors? Tina, we have no more questions for you, so I guess it's a good night.
It's a great night. Thank you so much.
Makes it easier for all of us. Then can we have a motion then on resolution number 5407, adoption of fiscal year 2022-23 tentative budget?
I move that we adopt the tentative budget for fiscal year 2022-23.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Councilor Samily. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, resolution carries. Letter D, public hearing and consideration of encroachment permit application for commercial site at 425 East Annie Devine Avenue, and that's engineering 22-0027. Staff has received a request for a substantial encroachment permit from Western Technologies Incorporated on behalf of the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality to install 4 wells located in the sidewalk adjacent to 425 East Annie Devine Avenue. The city streets and sidewalks rules and regulations require that staff post and publish notices for the proposed encroachment. Notices were posted on May 19th and published in the Daily Miner on May 22nd. Notices were also sent to utility companies and adjacent property owners. No comments or objections from the public or utility companies have been received as of the day of this write-up. The regulations require holding a public hearing for substantial encroachments into city rights-of-way. Staff recommends approval of the encroachment request with the following condition. Number 1, the applicant shall complete a RW permit, including any necessary requirements such as traffic control plan prior to construction. Staff recommends approval with the condition listed. Phil, Mr. Allred.
Good evening.
We are picking on you tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Vice Mayor and council members. Just as was read, we received a request for a substantial encroachment from Western Technology, who is acting on behalf of the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. What they want to do is install 4 monitoring wells. They're going to be located in the sidewalk adjacent to the property on 425 East Annie Devine Avenue. So on the screen here, it's this area in the center. So it's on the corner of 5th and Andy Devine. Like I said, the 4 wells will be located in the sidewalk between 2 driveways. They'll be about 60 to 63 feet deep, and they'll vary. I think there's going to be 2 that'll be 1 inch in diameter, 1 that will be 4 inch. But the covers will be flush mounted, so there won't be any type of obstructions. So this type of encroachment requires a public hearing and action by you. And as you noted, there were some notices posted and mailed to the property owners. We haven't received any objections. We did receive a concern from the business owner located at that corner, concerned about maintaining access while the construction occurs. We've confirmed with the contractor that they will be able to maintain access to that business, so that shouldn't be an issue. So with that, we're recommending approval. We just want them to be sure to come in for a right-of-way permit so that we can approve a traffic control plan and make sure that they're managing the traffic correctly during construction. With that, if there's any questions you might have of me, I can answer those.
I think we should open public hearing first. You can ask questions. Or do we have comment after? Yeah, that's.
Why you've got him there, you might as well ask him questions.
This is true.
'Cause he
Mr.
might get
Alvarez,
away.
since you're here. Comments or questions from council?
Vice Mayor,
Yes, Mayor Miles.
this says that these are wells for, is it groundwater monitoring?
So their ADQ is remediating the site due to underground leaking storage tanks. And so they will be monitoring for contaminants to make sure that they're not migrating in a direction that would be harmful. So they're purely for monitoring purposes only at this point in time.
To ensure that the environment is safe.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Mayor,
To
can you
ensure
read-
that the environment is safe.
Correct, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, the tanks have been removed a long time ago, but there is continuing contamination in the soil, so that's why EDQ wants to do this.
Yeah, I think they went in and did some cleanup a while back, and now at this point, what they're asking for now is for these wells so that they can do some monitoring.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Councilor
Vice
Samily.
Mayor. I just wondered if you had any idea on how long they'll be disrupting that area?
So we've had some conversations. We're thinking it'll take 1 to 2 weeks for them to do their work.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Allred.
Yep.
Let's open this hearing then to open the public hearing. The public hearing is now open. We have Ms. Charlene Graves here to comment on this You're the property owner, I would assume? Yes. Would you like to come forward, please, and? No. We'll be nice.
I was concerned when they put the wells, other wells on the property, that they interrupted the business down there, and it almost destroyed the business. So I was really concerned as how long the interruption on the driveway was going to be, if it was going to be all day for the 2 weeks, or if it was just going to be a partial time of day, because it's a U-Haul distributor, and they've got these trucks coming and going all the time. So I was just wondering if they could give me an answer, if they're going to ease the driveway open for a certain amount of time during the day.
Good questions. Mr. Allred, I think you need to come forward and address this. Oh, after, okay, so you've raised the question. Is there any other questions? And then we will close the public hearing if there are no other.
No, I was just concerned about the access on that southeast driveway.
Okay.
Obviously, the way I'm concerned is that the drilling of the 4 little wells are supposed to be between the 2 driveways, between the east and the west driveways. But it sounds like to me, with the equipment being down there, they're going to have to block off, which they're going to have to block off part of any divine anyway for the equipment. But how long during the day is this equipment going to be blocking that southeast driveway?
Well, another question would be, are they going to block off? I would imagine they wouldn't block off both driveways.
No,
Maybe
I
just block
understand.
off one so that you still have access for the business.
But
But-
these are big U-Hauls,
True.
and they come in off of the 5th Street and the southeast driveway. Of course, they have the west driveway, but it's easier access from the southeast driveway.
Okay.
I mean, if you ever go down there to look, there's
Yes.
U-Hauls all over the place.
Yes, there are.
See,
These are good questions. So are there any other questions you'd like to raise before
No.
we close this public hearing?
that's all I'm concerned about
Okay.
is the people doing business down there. I
Okay.
didn't want to be interrupted.
Very valid.
That's,
Thank you, Mrs. Graves.
you.
Okay. Any other comments from the public? We'll close this here, public hearing. Turn some time over to Mr. Allred to address these questions.
So we don't know exactly how long they'll be there. We just know it's going to be 1 to 2 weeks. They're going to have to set up the drilling rig, and I think the drilling rig is going to be there the entire time as they're drilling the wells. And so I think in our discussions with Western Technology, they're going to keep the west driveway open and obviously the driveway on 5th Street open. And as they move along, they might be able to scoot a little bit and maybe have a little bit of access in that east driveway. But they're going to need to have access for that drilling rig while they're doing their work. And so, and I don't think at the end of the day of their workday, I don't think they're going to pick up the drilling rig and leave. I think it's going to have to be there until they're done drilling. As they're doing other activities after the drilling rig is gone, then they might be able to work around on that east driveway a little bit.
Okay. Well, Mrs. Graves does bring up a valid point as far as those trucks, and I've seen the U-Haul trucks, usually they pull in off of 5th, or they pull off Annie Devine and cut across that corner. So that southeast driveway, it seems, is probably more critical, but you're saying they're probably going to block it off?
Yeah, I mean, they need the ability to drill, right? And they need to be able to do it in a safe manner. They will be closing a lane of traffic on Andy Devine, but until they can get that drilling done, I think that east driveway is going to be restricted a little bit.
Well, and with the tree there, from the picture that you've supplied us, with the tree there, it would be difficult to pull a drill rig past it unless we just chopped half the tree off, and that would not look good either on that, from that picture.
So I think they're
No.
trying their best to be
Okay.
as least disruptive as they can, and they want to get out of there just as fast as everyone else does. So we will try to keep working with them and try to find ways to get that driveway open as soon as possible.
Okay. I guess most importantly is that they work with you, with the city, and of course, and work with the business owner there
Yeah.
too, to impact them the least amount of time.
Yep.
Okay. Other comments from council? Okay. I think there's, so we need to approve that, Mr. Cooper? That's engineering plan 22-0027. Okay, can we have a motion on approval of that engineering plan?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And no, any opposed? Okay, hearing none, it's approved. Number 6, department reports, we have none. Number 7, announcements by mayor, council members, and city manager. Mr. Foggin.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. One order of correction, we also have a permitting process that is part of the infrastructure installment process. So not only do we have a great working relationship with Unisource, but there's a permitting process that we get to weigh in a little bit more. So that's one announcement. The real announcement is our city expo is this Thursday from 4 to 7.
That's right.
We are really excited about that, and we want to make sure that we're inviting not only our elected officials where we have a spot for you, we're also putting the word out to our citizens that we would love to have them come down to Centennial Park. What side of the park is that on? North side? The big parking lot. By the library.
That's the west.
West side, okay, west side. Orientation of some of these things. Anyway, it's going to be a great event. We have departments that are excited to share information and just an opportunity to meet and greet some of our city team members. And first, no, I don't know how many. We have hot dogs that we're going to be giving out as well. So, and of course, bottled water. It's going to be warm. And so just want everybody to put that on their calendar for Thursday, 4 to 7. Love to have everybody. The other thing that I'd like to announce is that we are going to be operating under warmer temperatures, and we will have the cooling stations that we normally put out during those high heat times will be active Friday and Saturday at the 3 locations that we usually do them at. So that's Centennial Park, Lewis Kingman Park, and Metcalf Park. So just a caution to everybody that we are headed into summer. Stay hydrated, and we are paying attention to the high heat warning. So those are my 2 announcements. Thank you.
Mayor Foggin, did you want to comment on the burn thing, since we've discussed that, you and I, a little bit?
Yeah,
I
sure.
think that's an important notice too.
Absolutely. The other piece that we're operating under a burn ban. The fire chief, Chief Yeager, and his team basically mirrored Mojave County's burn ban. And so any fire that creates embers is currently not authorized. I'll just say is in a violation of the burn ban and could face fines. We'd prefer not to have to do that. Of course, charcoal and propane cooking outdoors is still encouraged, and we want people to have their barbecues, but anything that creates embers, it should not be done, whether that's burning weeds or open flames, open campfires, anything like that. We did have a little small wildland fire in the city limits just yesterday, bless you. And so it just is a good reminder to follow those regulations. We don't obviously want to have our fire department have to work on wildland fires when we're trying to respond to medical emergencies and other things like that. So Thank you.
No, thank you for that announcement. Councilwoman Samley.
Sure. So I wanted to report that myself, Vice Mayor Watkins, Councilor Mello, and Councilor Staley attended the Main Street ceremonies on the 27th, where they unveiled the statue of Jim Hinckley, and I thought it was very well done. I actually got chills when I saw Mr. Hinckley standing next to his own likeness, and he was standing exactly how the statue was. So that was a little eerie, but so realistic. So they did a really good job. I think it was well attended by the city, citizens of the city, and it was a good time. I think it will bring a lot of tourism to downtown Kingman to do the walking tour and experience our history, and they'll maybe stay a little bit longer. And so well done, Main Street Group.
Thank you. Councilor Staley. Okay, Councilor Mello.
Nothing this evening.
I think Councilor Samley covered it all for us, so I have nothing to add about that. Well, I actually have been able to attend a couple of meetings discussing our dire drought that we are in and water, and of course, just one thing I do want to encourage people to think about water conservation and strive to do that in everything that we do, whether it's brushing our teeth. I used to have I have one child that loved 20-minute showers, wasted a lot of water. So anyway, if we can all think of ways we might be able to conserve water and encourage that. That's all I have. Mayor Miles.
Yes, thank you. I want to thank you, Vice Mayor, for attending those water meetings. I will also be attending some this week by Zoom, but it's just one of the most critical issues our city faces. And the legislation still needs to be enacted so that individual counties and regions aren't going to have to try to take matters in their own hands as they are in Cochise County, attempting to create AMAs and things of that nature. But I would just mention I was able to attend the Veterans Memorial at Veterans Park on Memorial Day. It was a beautiful professional service and dedication of the monument, the Colors of War. And I really want to express thanks to all involved, including our city staff, the Parks Department, who were so instrumental in working with the organizers of that monument to create it. And it's a really moving and beautiful monument. So I would encourage all to go down and really have some moments at this Veterans Memorial Park.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Okay. Moving on to item number 8, council request for future reports and updates. Council? Mayor? Nothing? Okay. Adjournment. I don't think we even need an motion for that, do we, Carl? I think we are adjourned. Thanks once again to everybody who attended via Zoom or here in council chambers. We appreciate you being here.
Good night, everyone.